Chris, seeing what like a lot of these Mr. Olympias like health wise have to deal with after, like Ronnie Coleman's back. Like I know because I followed his whole career. I felt really bad because I saw him like in a wheelchair and his back was messed up, to Arnold and his heart and all and a bunch of other athletes. But does that scare you at all? All the strain that you're putting on your body now? I know because you spoke about this before on podcasts that you have an autoimmune disease with your kidneys.
Yep.
Correct. And now that you have, that's one question. And then now, I mean, we just mentioned that you have a kid. Congratulations coming.
Thank you.
Do you know if it's a boy or a girl yet?
I do, but I'm not allowed to say.
When I say, gonna say it, but and like, is it worth it, Chris? Because I don't know how many more you want to keep going for. It's stressful. It's tolling on your body. You know what the future, if you keep going, holds. Is it still worth it? Because I mean, right now you could comfortably stop with your businesses, with your name. You're crushing it, and good for you. Is it worth it that now you could leave comfortable, or are you going to just keep going because that's your dream, that's your vision, and that's what you want to do?
I mean, it's definitely a consistent question I ask myself every year, and I've been very verbal that I take it 1 year at a time. There's going to be a moment where I don't want to. And when you were asking me initially, what was that initial like flip where I started to go all in on bodybuilding? And initially it was 2017 when I came second at Olympia, but then it was 2018 when I got sick and I found out I have an autoimmune disease, and I was in the hospital for like a week in the middle of prep, and I came out of that and I didn't know if I'd be able to compete again. I didn't know if it would be my last year competing. I didn't know what was going to happen. And that's when like I really was like, fuck, like my health could be an issue here. And luckily it was unrelated to bodybuilding. It's something that I had prior to me, what I was born with. It had hit me when I was young and I didn't know what it was. But coming out of that, I was like, fuck, like I could have lost it all right now. This is serious. Not only am I grateful that I still have the opportunity to do this and I'm on borrowed time, so I better give it my all, but I better be a lot more cautious of my health. So I started to do a lot more blood work, a lot more check-ins with my doctors, a lot more started reducing the amount of drugs I would take because I knew I could push my work harder rather than just drugs. Focus on what I ate, my inflammation, all these little things. And it's something I focused on. And it's also something where I knew I wouldn't have a 10, 15-year career. As much as I would love to keep going, because I know I could keep getting better and do this for 10 Olympias or so, it's not my dream.
It's not your dream.
To have 10 or plus?
Yeah.
No. I've always told people it won't be forever. I still don't know how many it's going to be. Right now, I've been getting healthier over the years, not getting worse. So that's a huge sign for me that I'm still going in the right direction. My physique is still getting better. I know I still have more in me. So I still take time after the Olympia. I do my blood work. I do my check-in. And I just kind of check in with myself, see how motivated I am to keep pushing and how my health is doing. And then I make my decision, am I going to do another one?
Why do it? Why keep doing it, though? Because the more you do it, are you getting more sponsorship money, and are you seeing money coming from elsewhere increasing? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is there a correlation between 5 Mr. Olympias and, we made $16.2 million the last 12 months. And on the fourth one, we were at 12.3. And on the third one, we were at 6.7. And on the second one, we were at 2.1. And on the first one, we were at $380,000. Is there a correlation with you more winning and more income and revenue coming in, or not yet?
I think in the first 3 to 4, there definitely was, and whether or not that was also just time, increasing at the same time. But now we actually just had this question asked to us the other day, if we thought that me winning the Olympia has a big spike on the business. And our answer was no. We've established the business to be bigger than myself now, which was always the goal. And I don't think it is anymore. And I obviously don't compete for the $50,000 check at the end of the year. So and the reason I've never really pushed into caring about that check is because it's never why I've done it. And even if it was $400,000, I don't want $400,000. My goals monetarily are bigger than that. My businesses are always wanted to be bigger than that. I've never competed for that. When I compete, it's for the legacy that I can build, that I'm proud of. It's for the challenges that I know. When you push yourself through something very difficult, that's how you learn about your true self. You uncover new levels that you can reach, new parts of yourself you didn't know about. And then when I'm at shows and I have moments of, after my speech that I can give talking about hardships I've gone through, when people can relate to me talking about the stressful moment to me losing a bunch of weight, tearing my lat, wanting to quit, all these things and not quitting. I have kids from 12 years old up to 30s or 40s coming up to me, and these kids could write me a letter and they'll do something very personal, like, this is for Christopher, not CBum, because they know I don't like CBum's not me, I'm Christopher. I've always stayed true to myself, and they'll be crying, tell me about how I've helped them and how my journey and my stories motivate them. And that was never my intention, but just by going through this, I know I'm helping these people push themselves and try and create better versions of themselves as well. So while it's increasing me to be a better person, it's making people around me a better person, that's really what drives me consistently to keep doing this, and what I love so much about bodybuilding and, you know, the journey and the suffering that you go through to excel yourself as a man so much more than a bodybuilder. That's really what drives me now. And like I said, I think I could probably win 10 Olympias if I wanted to, but I'm going to pull earlier than that because of these reasons. What's worth it? What's a bigger regret I'm going to have in the future? Having 10 Olympias or being sick? Yeah. Obviously, I'd rather have my health.
That's why I'm asking the question. Because but that's why I said you're loved and liked and admired. It's very hard to have all those three. Very, very, because you can act and have all those three. Mm-hmm. The only way you can have all those three is to be all those three, and you are all those three. So it's not hey, Christopher, what's the 17 steps to be loved, liked, and admired? You can't do it. It's genetics. Yeah. Part of it is your personality, your DNA. That's it. There's a part of it that you're. So, but let's go back to that. So, Michael wanted to be the GOAT. Mm-hmm. So when he stepped away at 3. You know, and we've all heard the stories, you know, Last Dance, was it his father? Did David Stern say step away for a year and a half? Then he comes back. But he stepped away from the game and he wanted to go do baseball because, you know, his original love was baseball. And then he comes back and wins 3 more. But Michael wanted to be the GOAT. Like, he wanted to be Magic at 5, I'm going to have 6. Mm-hmm. It was one of those things, right? Brady comes, which I was with Brady, a couple months ago? We had him at the event. And I said, you know, the 7 was 7 because you wanted one more than Belichick or one more than Michael, because Michael's got 6 championships and Belichick and him won 6 together. So did he want to win a 7th to say, I've done one more than 2? Now, obviously, publicly, you may not reveal the true internal motives and drives to anybody else. You're like, yeah, you know. No, it wasn't the reason, but you know what? You know, I just kind of wanted to test myself. Mm-hmm. That's like the right answer to give. And then there's the answer of, no, I wanted to give him the middle finger and tell him I can win without Bill and I can win one more than Michael. And people got to stop saying that guy's the Jordan of the industry. No, they got to start saying that guy's the Brady of the industry. Do you relate more to a Michael and a Brady when you're by yourself, or do you relate more to a Barry Sanders, a Calvin Johnson? Some of these guys that left the game, I don't know if you know who Calvin Johnson is or who Barry Sanders is.
I know Barry, not Calvin.
Calvin Johnson, Megatron.
Number 81 for the Lions, right?
The guy was and by the way, one of the greatest physiques in NFL ever. Both of these guys, just put NFL, Calvin Johnson was one of the greatest receivers ever, and they retired early, and they stepped away from the game. And whenever anybody would ask the question, say, Barry, why'd you leave so early? Yeah, I just left early. Yeah. If you would have kept, you would have been past Emmitt Smith. Everybody knew that. That's not what I'm doing the game for. So which of those two do you more relate to? The crazy guys like the Jordans and the Bradys, or the guys that are doing it because they like it, and at one point if they stepped away and they didn't beat anybody else, they're totally cool with it?
It's funny because when I started my career, and I mean, it's impossible not to watch Michael Jordan and just feel fire burning in your heart. Yeah. Everybody, no matter who you are, you feel that. Yeah. He's like, that's why you say you're the Jordan of your industry. But when I was younger, he was a guy I looked up to. I read Relentless by Tim Grover, you know. The Last Dance came out book. Middle of my career. A lot of these things going on, and I was like, fuck, like, you know, kill everyone, like, fuck the competition. I want to beat this guy, hold a grudge, like all that stuff. I felt that, and I was like, hell yeah. And then I started to kind of like think about that, and it didn't line up with me. I read it, and it lightened me, but it didn't line up with who I was and what I wanted to be. I wasn't so much of, I want to sacrifice my whole life to do this. It was like, no, I actually realized that I still get more joy from the relationships with my parents and my wife. And I like being friends with people and being friendly. I'm more lighthearted than that. I'm not the aggressive guy who's going to kill you. I'm just going to show up and do my best, and I'll try and bring everybody else around me up too. And I really realized that through part of my career. And that was when I realized that my goals weren't external to be the best compared to someone else. It wasn't the best to be in 20 years from now when someone else is trying to win, be like, no, you can't beat me because I had 8 and you can only get 5. It was truly...
That does nothing for you.
No.
Okay.
I can't say nothing. Everyone likes that a little bit. You know, I love the fact that I'm the champ right now and what comes with that. But what drives me more is truly being the best man I can be, and knowing that will lead to me being the best father I can be. And that was I've always been verbal about that. The number one thing I've always wanted to be in my life was a dad. And if being 10-time Mr. Olympia would take away from me being dad, fuck 10 times Mr. Olympia. That's not what I care about.
That's kind of what I figured. That's kind of what I figured with. So if that's the case, I'm going to play the role of a manager and agent here without being one.
All right.
And I don't benefit from you doing anything.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't make money off you. I don't get anything from you, but I like you a lot, right? Just like from a fan perspective, just seeing a guy, I'm like, I just like this guy. You know how certain people you're like, you just want to see that guy get whatever they want and you'd root for them? You give that vibe, okay? Right. And if that's the case and you have your baby that's due here soon in 2024, you don't relate to Michael. You're a February 2nd baby. Michael's a February 17th. Both of you guys are February babies. I don't know if you know this or not. You guys are a couple weeks apart. So, all right. So, no, I don't. That's not me. I read Relentless, and part of me goes, I'm like, no, that's not really me. If I have to choose between winning 10 and Son, the hell with it. I would much rather choose this. So, if that's the case, and there's no correlation between you winning a 6th or 7th or an 8th or 9th or 10th or any of that stuff, wouldn't it make more sense for you today to step away from the game and shock the hell out of the entire industry at a young age and start a supplement company, which you already, of course, that's already taken place, but take that to a whole different level and encourage the youth, hey, yeah, you can have a good physique and all this other stuff, but there's more important things in life than winning 10 more. And forever, you're going to be the mythical figure that if this guy would have gone, he could have potentially won double digit. Because what's the difference between 5 and 6 or 7? Nothing. Mm-hmm. The only other number that matters, what's the other number that matters? It's 9.
Yeah.
So you want to go get 9? Like, yeah, I don't really give a shit if I go get 9.
Yeah.
And then the question then becomes, do I risk going another 4? And what if I want to have 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids? I don't know how many kids you want to have. You're young. You can have 10 kids if you want, right? So
more likely to have 10 kids and 10 Olympias.
Yeah.
You'd much rather have 10 kids than 10 Mr. Olympias.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, great. Yeah, dude, me too. I'd much rather have 20 kids. If I had it my way, I'd have, as many kids as possible. But does that ever cross your mind where you're like, if there's no difference between 5, 6, 7, 8, the only thing that matters is 9. And even some of the people they're going to say, well, you've never won an Open anyways. It's not like it's this. You've never won an Open. Yeah, if you came up and you won an Open, then you would shock the hell out of the industry if you went that route. Now you're really talking if you do that because now you're a 5-timer and you're leveled up. So now you become a different story of, he's a middleweight champion. And he moved up to lightweight champion. And then he moved up to light heavyweight champion. You kind of going through that part. Does that at all cross your mind?
It's crossed my mind for years, honestly. And
stepping away, because it's either 9 or no other number really matters.
Yeah, and that's what it's been for myself for the last couple of years, and I know that. And this year, in the midst of my prep, when I was going through all that shit, for a moment, I have a therapist, and I remember talking to her, and she told me this after. I was like, I don't know if I can even get through this one. Wow. I felt so shitty. I was so down on myself. I was like, I literally don't even know if I can get through this one, if this is even worth it right now, because I was just in a low spot. And she was like, you know what? If you step away, your family, your wife, everyone close to you will love you the same. Nothing will change other than the amount of trophies you have on your shelf. And you've always said that's not what you care about. And I really understood that. And that relieved a lot of pressure from myself. And then I was like, I'm not going to quit. I'm still not going to give up on myself right now. It's not going to be in this low moment that I choose to quit. I'm going to push through this. And as I did, I was like, the relief of that pressure of knowing I don't need to win for anything right now, but I'm choosing to purely for myself.
Big mindset.
Huge difference. Yep. And the fact that I got through that and discovered that on my own, I was like, fuck yeah, I can keep going and I'm going to kill this 5th Olympia and no one's going to even talk about someone coming second to me. And that's what I did. And also what I learned this year was in my relationship as it progressed so much in this. And I was talking to some Navy SEALs, actually, we had down DJ Shipley and Cole Flackler with a GBRS group. They were down and we were talking about learning how to turn a dial back and forth of when you're putting into 1% being a bodybuilder. And they were talking about going into perform as they do and then coming back to their families, how hard that is. And I don't want to compare that to what they do because that's top performance. But when me and my wife learned this year was she understood what I'm going through and how important this is to me. And she understands that I am going to pull back from our relationship for a little bit and being the best relational husband I can be in order to be the best Mr. Olympia I can be. But she knows damn well it's going to be worth it. I'm going to put everything in when I'm off and I'm away from her, I'm giving 110%. And when I'm done, I'm coming back to her. And I learned how to kind of turn that switch back into Mr. Olympia mode and back in a relational mode. And that's, I think, one of the most important things to learn. I imagine even you, when you go to business mode and you're like, all right, we got to do this, data, projection, this, that. And then you come home and you got to be dad, you know? You got to play with your kids. That's a knob you have to learn how to switch so you're not bringing work home onto them. So this is something now that bodybuilding has taught me on how to turn that knob back and forth that will make me a much better father. And then if I can manage that and balance things going on in my life much better, and it's not taking away too much from everything I have going on right now, my kid will still be a baby next year. My wife still understands what I'm going through. She's also a Miss Olympia from the past, so she gets it, you know?
She knows what's up.
So there's all these things that are going through my mind, and not only did I go through a hard part at the beginning of my prep, but end on such a high, but my relationship was strong throughout it, you know? And I don't want to talk to any of these goats like MJ, Brady, any of these guys. A lot of them, I believe, sacrifice a lot of their family time and relationships to get there, you know? So I don't want to do that. And I don't feel like I am right now. I don't feel like I'm pulling away from that for too long or too much, that it's actually hurting it long term and chipping away at it. And I work very hard on that side, rather than just being a bodybuilder, but also being the best relational man that I can be in other aspects of my life. And I know it's not hurting that right now. That's why I have these checks in place, where if I knew with my wife it was literally hurting our relationship, I would leave. I'd be done right now. If my health was decreasing, if I was doing my blood work and I was getting sicker every year, I'd be done right now. But I'm improving all these things. These things are all getting stronger. I'm happier than ever in my relationship. My business is getting better. My health is getting better. Everything's still progressing, and I'm still enjoying what I do, and I still have that fire to keep pushing myself. So I'm like, why would I stop right now? You know?
Are you religious, Chris? You go to church, or
I'm not. No, I was raised in Canada, and I'm sure if I was somewhere else, you know, I might have been. But
so was Canada just overall just not a really big Christian?
Where I'm from, it's not very religious.
Ottawa,
yeah.
Ottawa.
Yeah, a lot of Canadians believe in the Church of Justin Trudeau. It's what they believe in.
Oh, really?
It's
JT?
Yeah,
JT.
It's the Church of, not Latter-day Saints. It's Latter-day Justin Trudeau.
Justin Trudeau.
But
yeah.
I don't know if he is part of that camp, but some of those guys are. But on this topic, just because I want to get my question answered, or maybe know where you're at. Do you feel like, so you're committed to doing your 6? You're going to go back for your 6 this year.
I don't make that decision and this is why I've said this every year, so people know I'm not bullshitting. Yeah. I don't make that decision until I'm ready to start ramping up again.
Okay, got it.
You know, I haven't been training for a few weeks now, and I'm just enjoying the 5th.
Are you interested? Is there like a next impossible thing for you to do? You know what I'm saying? Is there the next thing where you kind of need the next challenge? Do you think about that, or no? It's just routine, because there's certain, like my dad is an April 10 baby, okay, and the significance of it is what you and I talked about off pre-podcast. He's born April 10th, and my dad can do the same thing every day for 40 years. He's excited. It's my dad, okay. It's not everybody.
Great skill to have.
Great skill to have. It's a scary skill to have, because the enemy is intimidated. The fact that you're still that excited. My dad is that guy. He'll just keep doing it, won't get bored, he's good to go. Nobody can slow him down. He's 81 years old right now. In and out of hospital, he still goes. Can't stop him. Is there a next challenge where it's like, babe, what I'm thinking about what? What if we decide to shock the world this year? And what's that? What do you think about if we made a run to go do XYZ? Does that thought at all cross your mind to want to run in the open? Or no, that's not even a thought you ever think about?
It's definitely crossed my mind, and I've joked about it, and people always ask me about it. But I mean, to go back to when I started, I almost retired when I turned pro because I didn't want to be an open bodybuilder. At 6'1", I'd have to be 300 pounds. You're tall. Right. You discovered that when you were trying to compete too.
Yeah. That's when I stepped away, by the way.
Yeah,
crazy.
It's tough. So then when Classic Physique came out, I was like, here's my chance to keep going. Let's go all in on this. And when I talk about how my health has been progressing, it's because of all the little things I've taken away from and added and changed to focus on that outside of just being huge. And I think to go in the open, I would have to mitigate those things that I've put in for my health checks, and I'm not willing to risk that. So if I ever competed, it would be a similar look to these pictures how I look now, but maybe a little bit fuller, less lean, just so I was a little bit heavier. But I wouldn't want to push myself to that. And I also don't like the idea of competing to not be as competitive as possible. So it'd be hard for me to go in the open knowing I could be doing more to be more competitive and not doing it. Yeah. So that's challenging for me. So it's on my mind. Would it be fun? Absolutely. But it's not really in the cards right now.
And I figured that's kind of where you would be at. Because when I sit there and I think about it from the standpoint of, what it would do to get a 6th, 7th, 8th, it's really the 9th that would matter. So which means you got to take it 1 year at a time, and you can't let the media and whoever these annoying people that ask the stupid questions, the tough questions. I don't know any of these guys, but some people tend to ask these crazy questions that get you thinking. You're like, I don't want that pressure. I'm doing whatever I'm doing, talking to my family, my wife, my friends, my mentors, my peers, and that's the route I'm going to take. But I think I'm like, if a Chris gave the same thing he's giving right now to Mr. Olympia, classic physique, what if he did that to his business at this time? How much can he scale that to? Because, you saw what Bill Phillips did with Muscle Media, sold it, got $100 million, couple $100 million. You saw what that was EAS back in the days and how that supplement took off. And you're seeing right now drink and all these things. Do you really need Mr. Olympia to get to 30 million followers? I mean, you'll post something on Instagram, you'll get 1 million likes in a heartbeat. It's not like you getting 1 million likes. It's not like, oh my God, it's got 1 million likes. To you, it's just like a regular Tuesday when you post something. Your audience is like fully behind you, right? And how do you monetize that? Because all that's going to do is that's just going to make your children wealthier generationally, make the Bumstead legacy bigger in the future. And there's timing in that. And there's a storytelling in that. That's the only reason I asked the question, to say, what is the next challenge? If the challenge isn't to go to the next level, which I would not at all recommend doing as a friend, I would say I wouldn't waste my time with that. Then what is the next challenge? I don't think 9 is the challenge. I think the challenge would be there's a massive opportunity to change the game today. And to be able to influence and change the game, you have to have loyalty and audience. You have to be liked where you can persuade. You have to be transparent, vulnerable. Check. And you have to do it when you're peaking, winning, and you leave people behind. You're kind of like, oh, Michael, why did you step away after the 6? You could have won a 7 or so. It's like that feeling. That's why I asked the question, to see what the next big challenge is for a guy like you. And obviously, winning the Open is not on that list.
No. Yeah. And I mean, there's definitely more I can put into business. And right now I have the best partners ever. And the reason our businesses are doing so hot right now are because of my partners who can handle the back end of business when I need to step away for bodybuilding. There's definitely more we can tap into. But when I talk with my wife about like the next step and what really drives me right now, I reflect back on the things that light up my heart the most right now, the little things that come in. It's the inspiration. It's the help I give like the younger generation, the kids I hear, the stories I get, the letters I get, all this shit. There's nothing I like. It brings tears to my eyes now when I like read these things, and I'm like, there's something in that is my next challenge. I know like I'm not religious based off of pure religion, but I have spiritual beliefs. I believe in the higher power, and I have like beliefs in the world. And there's something in that realm that calls me, and I know that to give back. Bodybuilding is a very selfish thing. It starts very selfish. It's just I want to be big, and then it begins a bit more. I can bring up my family and my friends and my community, and then there's some aspect that calls me to be able to give back more because I've been given so much. I'm so blessed. Like when I tell you I thought I was going to be done in bodybuilding when I got sick, everything else has just been bonus, and I'm so grateful for it. And I just want to be able to give back some of those feelings that I've had to others. And the next challenge is going to be figuring out how and then executing on that.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.